consider intermittent fasting as part of your lifestyle. The truth is, most of us have been told that the only way to lose weight or manage type 2 diabetes is to constantly cut calories, restrict foods, or follow complicated diets. But what if the real problem isn't just what you eat, but when you eat? This is where intermittent fasting comes in. It's not a new fad or trend, it's actually something deeply rooted in human history, practiced for thousands of years without people even thinking about it as a diet. When you fast, you allow your body to switch from storing energy to burning energy. Think of it this way: every time you eat, your insulin levels rise, pushing the energy from food into storage. If you're always eating from morning until night, your insulin stays high, and your body never gets the chance to tap into the energy reserves it's been saving for later. Over time, this constant storage mode can lead to weight gain, insulin resistance, and eventually type 2 diabetes. Intermittent fasting gives your body the break it needs from high insulin levels, allowing you to burn fat, lower blood sugar, and restore balance. What makes intermittent fasting so powerful is its simplicity. You don't need to buy special foods, count every calorie, or spend hours planning meals. You simply change the timing of your eating, and your body does the rest. Whether it's skipping breakfast a few times a week, extending the time between dinner and your first meal the next day, or following a longer fast, the flexibility makes it easy to fit into almost any lifestyle. And the best part, it's backed by science, showing real benefits for weight loss, improved metabolic health, and even reversing type 2 diabetes. One of the most overlooked strengths of intermittent fasting is that it works regardless of the type of diet you follow. Most weight loss advice centers around changing what you eat: low carb, keto, paleo, vegetarian, plant-based, or low fat. Each camp insists their way is the best, but here's the reality: intermittent fasting is diet agnostic. That means it doesn't compete with those approaches, it complements them. Whether you prefer a plant-based diet or you thrive on high fat and low carbs, fasting still works because it targets when you eat, not what you eat. This universality is what makes it so powerful and sustainable. Think of your body as having two main states: the feeding state and the fasting state. When you eat, your body goes into storage mode. Food comes in, insulin levels rise, and energy gets stored away, some in the liver as glycogen, and the rest as fat for later use. This is a natural, healthy process, but only half of the cycle. The other half is the fasting state. When you're not eating, insulin levels fall, and the body flips the switch to burn stored energy. Your liver releases glucose from its reserves, and once those are depleted, the body begins tapping into fat stores. This is how the balance is supposed to work: eat, store energy, fast, burn energy. The problem today is that many people never truly enter the fasting state. Modern eating habits encourage constant snacking, late night meals, and grazing throughout the day. From the moment breakfast is eaten until bedtime snacks, insulin levels are kept high, and the fat-burning switch is never fully engaged. Over months and years, this leads to persistent fat storage, weight gain, and rising blood sugar levels. By strategically reintroducing fasting windows, you give your body the opportunity to reset, lower insulin, and finally burn through those excess reserves. Take the word breakfast as an example. It literally means breaking your fast. For most of human history, people naturally fasted overnight, sometimes 12 to 16 hours, simply because food wasn't constantly available. They didn't roll out of bed and grab a sugary cereal or snack at midnight. Instead, eating followed a natural rhythm: daytime for nourishment, nighttime for fasting. This daily cycle kept insulin levels in check and allowed fat stores to be used regularly. Compare that to modern lifestyles where eating starts early in the morning and continues late into the night. The fasting window has been squeezed down to almost nothing, leaving no room for fat burning. What's remarkable about intermittent fasting is how seamlessly it integrates into different eating patterns. If you're vegetarian, fasting doesn't interfere with your plant-based meals. If you're following a keto diet, fasting actually enhances ketosis, since both approaches encourage fat burning. Even if you prefer a higher carb approach, fasting still lowers insulin between meals, helping you regulate blood sugar and avoid the constant spikes and crashes. It's not about replacing your diet, it's about amplifying its effectiveness by restoring the natural ebb and flow of energy use. This universality makes intermittent fasting accessible to nearly everyone. There are no strict food lists or expensive supplements to buy. You simply eat the foods you already prefer, but within a defined eating window. For some, that might be skipping breakfast and eating from noon to 8 p.m. For others, it might mean eating only 2 meals a day. The flexibility makes it adaptable to different cultures, preferences, and lifestyles. More importantly, it reconnects you with the body's natural design, alternating between periods of feeding and fasting. When you allow insulin to drop and give your body time in the fasting state, something incredible happens. Your blood sugar begins to stabilize. The stored fat that once felt impossible to lose finally becomes accessible. Energy levels improve because you're no longer dependent on a constant supply of snacks to prop you up. Instead, your body learns to efficiently tap into its reserves, just as it was designed to do. Whether you're eating salads, steaks, or rice and beans, the principle remains the same. Fasting opens the door to fat burning, weight loss, and better metabolic health. One of the most liberating aspects of intermittent fasting is the flexibility it gives you. Unlike traditional diets that come with long lists of foods to avoid or strict meal plans to follow, fasting hands the control back to you. You're no longer bound to rigid rules about what you can and cannot eat. Instead, you decide when to eat and when not to eat, and this choice can be adjusted to fit your lifestyle, your schedule, and even your personal preferences. That's a level of freedom most diets can't offer. Think about how most diets operate. They tell you what foods are good and which ones are bad. They often require special grocery lists, elaborate recipes, or constant calorie counting. This can quickly become overwhelming, especially when life gets busy or when you're traveling, celebrating a holiday, or attending social events. With fasting, none of that is necessary. If you have an upcoming dinner party, you can adjust your fasting window earlier in the day. If you're on vacation and want to enjoy a traditional meal with family, you can simply shift your fast or skip it that day. The effectiveness doesn't disappear because fasting works on the long-term balance between feeding and fasting, not on one single perfect day. There are multiple fasting patterns people can choose from, and the beauty lies in tailoring them to your needs. Some prefer the popular 16-8 method, where you fast for 16 hours and eat during an 8-hour window. Others find success with 1 or 2 24-hour fasts per week, where they simply skip dinner one day and eat normally the next. For those who like more structure, alternate day fasting provides a rhythm of fasting every other day. Each approach works because the principle behind them is the same. You're giving your body extended time to lower insulin and burn stored energy. There's no single correct method, only the one that feels right for you. This flexibility creates a sense of empowerment that many people have never experienced before with dieting. Instead of feeling forced to follow someone else's rules, you're the one in charge. If you wake up one morning and don't feel hungry, you can skip breakfast. If you're busy at work and don't have time for lunch, that can naturally become part of your fasting routine. You're no longer at the mercy of food or dictated by strict meal schedules. You're making conscious choices about when to eat, and that mindset shift is incredibly powerful. Another way fasting provides freedom is by reducing the constant mental burden around food. On restrictive diets, people often spend the whole day thinking about what they can eat, what they can't, how many calories are left, or whether they've broken a rule. This mental tug of war is exhausting. With fasting, the rules are simple. Just don't eat during your fasting period. There's no need to obsess over every ingredient or portion size. That mental clarity alone makes it easier to stay consistent long term. It also helps you regain confidence in your own body. When you practice fasting, you begin to realize that hunger isn't an emergency. You discover that you can comfortably go several hours without eating, and your body knows exactly how to fuel itself by tapping into stored energy. This builds resilience and self-trust, qualities that restrictive diets often undermine. Instead of feeling deprived, you feel in control because you know you can always adjust your fasting schedule to your life rather than the other way around. Even in situations like holidays or travel, fasting fits naturally. You don't need to pack special foods or explain your diet to others. You simply choose when to eat and enjoy the meals that are meaningful to you. If you overate at one event, fasting afterward helps balance things out without guilt. This creates a sustainable rhythm that doesn't interfere with real life. And that's why so many people find fasting not just effective, but sustainable for years, not weeks or months like most diets. The real power lies in choice. You are not locked into eating when the clock says it's lunchtime, and you're not shackled to an endless cycle of restrictions. You can choose to eat, or you can choose not to eat. That freedom is both simple and profound. For the first time, instead of being trapped in rigid rules, you're in control of your health and your body. One of the most overlooked benefits of intermittent fasting is that it's completely free. In a world where almost every weight loss solution is tied to a product, a subscription, or a program that costs money, fasting stands apart. You don't need shakes, pills, powders, or pre-packaged meals. You don't have to spend on supplements or expensive plans. All you have to do is stop eating for a period of time, and that costs nothing at all. It's the most accessible health tool available, and yet it's often ignored because it's so simple. Contrast this with what most people are sold when they want to lose weight or manage type 2 diabetes. There are endless diet programs that charge monthly fees. There are special diet foods on grocery shelves that cost more than regular options. Weight loss clinics and packaged meal plans often promise quick results but come with a hefty price tag. Even medications for managing blood sugar and weight can cost hundreds or thousands of dollars each year. These expenses add up, creating a financial burden, and yet they rarely address the root cause of the problem. They manage symptoms rather than restoring the body's natural balance. Fasting flips this model on its head because it requires no purchase, no ongoing cost, and no dependency on external products. Instead, it teaches you to rely on what your body already has stored energy. The extra fat on the body is not useless weight, it's stored fuel, saved up precisely for times when food isn't available. Glucose stored in the liver and fat stored in adipose tissue are like a built-in pantry. By fasting, you simply allow the body to access that pantry. You're not depriving yourself. You're using what you already own. This perspective is important because it reframes the idea of fasting. Instead of seeing it as restriction, think of it as resourcefulness. Just as you might use food from your refrigerator before buying more groceries, fasting is a way of using the energy you've already stocked away. This makes it both practical and natural. The body is designed for this cycle of storing energy and then using it later. Without fasting, you're constantly adding more to the pantry, but never taking anything out, which is why fat and weight accumulate over time. The financial savings extend beyond food. Consider how many people spend money on snack bars, energy drinks, or constant grazing throughout the day. Fasting naturally eliminates the need for those extra purchases. When you're not eating all the time, you're not spending on unnecessary snacks. You may even find your grocery bill shrinking simply because you're eating fewer meals overall. Over the course of months and years, this translates into significant savings, something no diet program ever offers. The health savings are even greater. By fasting, you lower insulin, reduce fat storage, and improve blood sugar control. This can reduce or even eliminate the need for costly medications for type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, or cholesterol. It can help prevent long-term complications like heart disease, kidney failure, or nerve damage, conditions that are not only devastating for health but also financially draining. Hospitals, procedures, and prescriptions are far more expensive than the simple act of fasting. Investing in fasting costs nothing and pays back in both health and financial freedom. Accessibility is another reason fasting is so powerful. It doesn't matter where you live, what your income is, or what resources you have access to. Everyone can practice fasting because it's not about buying something, it's about choosing not to eat. This levels the playing field. Whether you're in a big city with endless food options or in a rural area with limited choices, fasting is available to you. That universality makes it one of the most inclusive health interventions in existence. The beauty of fasting is that it strips away the noise of diet culture and reminds us of something very simple. The body already knows how to heal itself if given the chance. By pausing from constant eating, you give your body time to burn through the energy it has stored up. The fat on your body is not a mistake. It's fuel waiting to be used. And when you allow your body to use that fuel, you save money, improve your health, and break free from the cycle of dependency on external products. In the end, fasting is the rare solution that doesn't require you to spend money, doesn't demand endless shopping lists, and doesn't create a financial burden. It works with what you already have, both in your pantry and in your body. That's why it's not just cost effective, it's life changing. One of the reasons so many people struggle to stick with traditional diets is because they are complicated. They require you to measure portions, count calories, track macronutrients, or memorize lists of foods that are allowed and forbidden. This can quickly become overwhelming, especially when you're already balancing work, family, and daily responsibilities. Intermittent fasting cuts through that complexity with remarkable simplicity. Instead of worrying about what you eat every single time, the focus is only on when you eat. There are no calculators, no labels to decode, and no stress about whether you slipped up. You just stop eating for a set period, and your body does the rest. That simplicity carries over into everyday life. Think about the time people spend shopping for special diet foods, preparing meals, cooking, eating, and then cleaning up. Fasting reduces much of that. Skipping one meal in a day doesn't just save you calories, it saves you time. Fewer meals mean fewer dishes, fewer trips to the grocery store, and less time spent in the kitchen. In a busy world where time feels scarce, fasting provides a natural way to reclaim some of it. That extra hour in the morning you might normally spend on breakfast could instead be used for exercise, work, or simply rest. Over weeks and months, the time savings add up. Compare this to complex diets that can feel like a full-time job to maintain. If you've ever tried to follow a strict low-carb or vegetarian diet while traveling, you know the frustration. Suddenly, eating out becomes a stressful puzzle of figuring out what you're allowed to have and what you must avoid. Imagine sitting at a steakhouse as a vegetarian. Your choices are limited and you're stuck asking for modifications or picking at side dishes. Or consider being at a social gathering where the food doesn't fit the rules of your diet. You either feel pressured to break your plan or awkward for sticking out. Fasting bypasses all of that because it doesn't matter what food is being served. You can simply choose not to eat until later. That option is always available, no matter where you are. This flexibility makes fasting uniquely convenient. Whether you're traveling across time zones, attending family events, or navigating a hectic workday, fasting doesn't get in the way. You don't need to pack special snacks or stress about finding compliant foods. If you can't find the right meal, you simply extend your fast. Knowing your body is perfectly capable of running on stored energy until your next eating opportunity. This is what makes fasting sustainable in the long run. It adapts to your life rather than forcing your life to adapt to it. Another way fasting simplifies life is by reducing decision fatigue. Studies show that the average person makes dozens of decisions about food every single day: what to eat, when to eat, how much to eat. Over time, this constant decision making wears people down, often leading to poor choices. With fasting, many of those decisions disappear. If you're fasting through breakfast, there's no need to debate over cereal, eggs, or toast. You just don't eat. That mental clarity can spill over into other parts of life, giving you more energy to focus on work, family, or personal goals. Even meal preparation becomes more straightforward. If you're eating fewer meals, you don't have to cook as often. For people who dread the constant cycle of planning, cooking, and cleaning, this is a relief. Imagine cutting down from 3 full meals a day to 2 or even 1. That's less time in the kitchen and more time living your life. It also reduces the stress that comes from trying to make every meal perfectly healthy. With fasting, the emphasis is on the fasting window itself, so there's less pressure to micromanage every bite you take. The convenience of fasting extends to long-term consistency as well. Many people give up on diets because they simply aren't practical for daily living. If a plan is too rigid or complicated, it's hard to follow during vacations, holidays, or busy work weeks. Fasting doesn't have this problem. It works whether you're at home, on the road, or in a completely different country. The principle is the same if you can't eat what you want. You don't have to eat at all until the timing works for you. This means fasting doesn't fail when life gets messy. It adapts right alongside you. The beauty of fasting lies in its ability to strip health and weight loss back to something incredibly simple. You don't need apps, calorie charts, or elaborate meal plans. You just need to give your body the break it was designed for. That simplicity not only saves time and energy, but also removes the barriers that make most diets unsustainable. In a world where everything feels increasingly complex, fasting stands out as a refreshingly straightforward solution. Fasting stands out as the single most powerful dietary tool available because it addresses the core problem directly: excess energy stored in the body. Every time you fast, you're consuming 0 calories, which means you're immediately creating an energy deficit without the need for complicated tracking or portion control. But unlike other diets that rely on cutting back or substituting certain foods, fasting has no ceiling. It's infinitely flexible. You can fast for shorter periods like 12 or 16 hours or extend to 24, 36, or even longer when needed. Each variation deepens the effect. Because the longer the fasting period, the more time the body spends in fat burning mode. This makes fasting uniquely effective compared to other approaches, which eventually hit natural limits. When you fast, your body is guaranteed to burn energy, and it doesn't have to guess where that energy will come from. In the early hours, glucose stored in the liver supplies fuel. Once those reserves are depleted, the body switches seamlessly to burning fat. That's the energy reserve you carry around in the form of extra weight. While diets that focus on cutting calories often fail because the body adapts by slowing metabolism or increasing hunger, fasting takes advantage of the body's natural design. Instead of fighting biology, you're working with it, using stored energy exactly as it was meant to be used. This is why fasting is so effective not only for weight loss, but also for improving metabolic health. By lowering insulin levels and forcing the body to draw on fat reserves, fasting directly targets the root cause of obesity and type 2 diabetes. Too much stored energy locked away by high insulin. Other diets may help for a while, but they eventually plateau because the body adapts. You can only cut portions so far before hunger becomes unbearable. You can only reduce carbs or fat to a certain point before the diet becomes unsustainable. Fasting doesn't suffer from those limits. If you reach a plateau, you can simply extend the fasting window a little longer, and the body continues to respond. The flexibility also means fasting can be tailored to different goals. For someone starting out, a simple 16-8 schedule may lead to steady weight loss and better blood sugar control. For those needing faster results, incorporating occasional 24-hour fasts can accelerate progress safely. Even longer fasts of 36 or 48 hours, done occasionally, can deliver dramatic improvements in insulin sensitivity and fat loss while still being manageable because they aren't required every day. Each fasting schedule acts like a tool in your toolbox. You choose the right one depending on your needs, and you always have the option to adjust. Another reason fasting is so powerful is that it guarantees fat burning in a way other diets cannot. Cutting calories might reduce food intake, but it doesn't guarantee insulin will drop enough for fat stores to become available. Low-fat diets or low-carb diets might help for a while, But if insulin stays elevated from frequent eating, fat burning remains limited. With fasting, insulin inevitably drops, and once it does, the body has no choice but to burn stored energy. There's no way around it. It's a biological certainty. This makes fasting not only effective in the short term, but also sustainable in the long term. People often worry that extended fasting might slow down metabolism, but studies show the opposite. Short-term fasting actually increases norepinephrine, boosting metabolism and keeping energy levels high. Rather than weakening the body, fasting strengthens it because it teaches the body to fuel itself efficiently from within. That's why people often report feeling more energized and mentally clear while fasting, not drained or sluggish as you might expect. When you compare fasting to other diets, its advantages become even clearer. A low-calorie diet might help you lose a few pounds initially, but hunger and cravings eventually push back. A diet built around special shakes or pre-packaged meals might work temporarily, but once you stop buying the products, the weight returns. Even diets like keto or low carb, while powerful, still require specific food choices and can be difficult to maintain socially or culturally. Fasting bypasses all these barriers. It's always available, always effective, and always adjustable. The impact goes beyond just losing weight. Deeper metabolic improvements happen when fasting is practiced consistently. Insulin sensitivity improves, blood sugar stabilizes, and fat is burned from areas that are otherwise stubbornly resistant. Fatty liver disease, driven by excess sugar and fat storage in the liver, can be reversed through fasting. Type 2 diabetes, once thought to be irreversible, can actually go into remission as fasting restores the balance between feeding and fasting states. These are outcomes that pills, calorie counting, or fad diets rarely deliver. What makes fasting the most powerful tool of all is that it grows with you. In the beginning, a simple daily fast might be enough. Over time, if you need more progress, you can adjust longer fasts, different schedules, or combining methods. There is always another lever to pull, another step to take without ever needing to spend money, buy products, or lock yourself into rigid rules. It's a tool without limits, and that makes it unmatched in its effectiveness for weight loss and metabolic health. The scientific evidence supporting intermittent fasting has grown rapidly in recent years, and one of the most exciting areas of research is its impact on type 2 diabetes. For decades, the standard approach to diabetes management has been to prescribe medications that lower blood sugar levels. While these drugs can be helpful, they don't actually address the underlying problem, too much sugar stored in the body. Fasting offers a different approach. By not eating, the body is forced to draw on its own energy reserves. First, glucose stored in the liver is released and used for fuel. Once those stores are depleted, the body begins breaking down fat, which in turn reduces insulin resistance. This process directly lowers blood sugar levels and targets the root cause of type 2 diabetes rather than simply masking the symptoms. Clinical studies have shown remarkable results. In trials where patients with type 2 diabetes adopted intermittent fasting protocols, many were able to significantly reduce or even completely stop their medications. Some achieved normal blood sugar levels after years of struggling with high readings simply by giving their bodies regular breaks from constant food intake. These results challenge the old belief that type 2 diabetes is a chronic, irreversible condition. Instead, they highlight that diabetes is largely a disease of energy overload, and fasting is the tool that allows the body to burn through that excess. Medical organizations are beginning to take notice. While guidelines have historically focused on medication and calorie restriction, newer research is prompting a shift. For example, studies published in respected journals have documented how fasting not only lowers blood glucose, but also improves HbA1c levels, reduces insulin requirements, and decreases body weight. These findings are being recognized by physicians and researchers who see fasting as a practical, drug-free strategy for remission. In fact, the concept of remission itself, once thought impossible for type 2 diabetes, is now increasingly discussed in the medical community, with fasting playing a central role in making it achievable. The mechanism behind this is simple and logical. Type 2 diabetes is essentially a disease of too much sugar locked inside the body. Insulin resistance prevents cells from properly absorbing glucose, leaving it to build up in the bloodstream. Medications may lower blood sugar temporarily, but they do not reduce the overall sugar burden. Fasting directly tackles this by lowering insulin, unlocking stored glucose, and forcing the body to use it for energy. Over time, this reduces fat around the liver and pancreas, two key organs in regulating blood sugar, restoring their normal function. It's a reversal of the disease process itself, something pills alone cannot achieve. The cumulative benefits of fasting make it an even more compelling option. Beyond lowering blood sugar, fasting leads to weight loss by burning fat, particularly the visceral fat around organs that contributes to insulin resistance. It improves insulin sensitivity, meaning the body requires less insulin to process food once eating resumes. It costs nothing, unlike lifelong prescriptions or specialized diets. It simplifies daily life by eliminating the need for constant food planning and preparation. And it's supported by growing scientific credibility, with more and more studies validating what people have experienced for themselves fasting works. Consider the ripple effect of these benefits. A person who adopts fasting not only loses weight, but also sees their blood pressure improve, cholesterol levels stabilize, and risk of heart disease decline. Someone struggling with fatigue and constant hunger begins to feel energized and in control. A diabetic patient reliant on expensive medications discovers that with careful fasting, they can reduce or even eliminate those drugs, saving money and avoiding side effects. These aren't just numbers on a chart. They are life-changing outcomes that restore health, independence, and confidence. The future of diabetes treatment is no longer limited to prescriptions and endless management of symptoms. Fasting is bringing a new perspective that type 2 diabetes can actually be reversed by addressing its cause. By cycling naturally between periods of eating and not eating, the body regains balance. This simple, cost-free practice is delivering results that modern medicine once believed impossible. Weight loss, improved insulin sensitivity, lower costs, greater simplicity, and strong scientific backing all converge into one powerful message. Fasting is not just an option, it is one of the most effective strategies we have for reclaiming health.